I am so exhausted. I just got back from Retro Day at GZA, which, if you've been following the channel at all, and maybe have seen some of the local Airsoft Facebook posts and all that, hopefully you've caught wind that GZA Retro Day was an event that I was running. The first event that I did, kind of running on my own. I've helped out with other events and I've led teams and all that, but to actually host the event under the Gear.Locker name and organize all the moving parts leading up to, during, and everything, that was a lot. But I had so much fun, and spoiler alert, I'm really excited to do the same thing next year. Now let me walk you through how the day went. I'm gonna give you these sort of AAR, but really, really brief, just so you know exactly kind of what played out during the day. The first part of the day was the tent offensive, or as I called it, the tent defensive. Because the TAN team, or the NVA, some were dressed as the NVA, which was awesome, were supposed to be attacking the main central fire base, or the outpost village, so to speak, at GZA. Green team was not fully there. In fact, they were spread out at another location as a QRF, just awaiting further orders. And as soon as the GIs got hit that were in the village, they almost got overrun until green team responded super fast, super aggressively, and took control of the entire village. They secured their objectives and they fought off NVA attack for literally like an hour. Just BB slugfest the entire time. Props to the TAN team for sort of keeping them contained in that village area, which I expected them to send patrols out and be ambushed and everything, but obviously it's never gonna work out the way the event runner expects it to, but that worked out kinda neat. After that, we came back, gave the guys 15 minutes to get more BBs, grab a snack, and we jumped right back out on the field for Operation Gothic Serpent, or as I called it, the Emo Worm. This had a couple more moving parts, in that there was a downed helicopter, there was a second crash site, there was a pilot body that needed to be retrieved. There was times where the Somalians had to back off and regroup, forcibly so, and respawns were adjusted. It was a very interesting one to play out, because jumping back to before the event actually started, I got there and people were already in the parking lot, which was so exciting to see, but every single one of them was wearing green. I was freaking out. This was gonna be a green domination the whole day, and that couldn't happen. Even if you put armbands on these guys, they're still wearing green. They're gonna look like green teams, so how do we balance this? And the first game kind of showed me that I needed to adjust a little more on the fly. So I learned that, and in the second event, I did make those adjustments as I had mentioned. And I only moved a couple guys over, and it started to play out a little bit better. TAN started being able to push up a hill, secure that second crash site, and move the pilot down. But I will say that Mogadishu Mile was really rough. The green team essentially hooked around and cut them off, and there was no mile. But it started to be a little more fun for everyone. It wasn't just an absolute slugfest, and there was some give and take. There was some push and pull between the teams. We braked for lunch, and then we jumped into the last part of the day, which was the invasion of Panama. Once again, the green team were representing the US, and there was a ton of guys dressed in their Panama kits, which I love to see. I'll throw some pictures throughout, but these guys were looking beautiful. And they were to invade all of Panama. They were taking a helicopter ride around the perimeter of the field to end up at a rear location while TAN was occupying and setting up ambushes. And then they were able to flood in and attack. One of my cadre was dressed as Manuel Noriega, and he was leading the entirety of TAN team. At one point, they were forced to pull back into the Vatican embassy, or a hideout on the field, which was a large kill house style structure. And this was where Noriega made his last stand. For the better part of an hour, the green team just pushed and pushed and pushed to try to surround that kill house. And they ended up getting it perfectly surrounded. There was basically no access anywhere else, nowhere in, nowhere out. And Noriega was about to be captured, till one of the green guys swept around the corner and just shot him. It was historical accuracy out the window, but they revived him, and then they captured him and brought him back to the helicopter for exfil to the US. And as I'm sure you're noticing, all of these kinds of things are not necessarily perfect recreations or reenactments. This is an Airsoft game with a historical theme, but that wasn't what the event was for. In all honesty, when I came up with this idea and pitched it to the field owner, I wanted a community day. I'm gonna fix that. We'll talk about that in another video. The community around me, specifically for Airsoft and reenactment, is really fragmented and shattered. You have guys that are in solid groups, and you have a bunch of people that go to Bay events, but everyone's kind of got their own thing. You got some World War II, we got World War I, you have Vietnam, you have 80s, you have 90s, but everyone's all segmented and fragmented, and it's just not one unit. So my idea was to bring everyone together for this historical theme, with a bunch of gameplay that kind of catered to them. And without a doubt, that ran beautifully. We had around 70 guys throughout the day, and that was so perfect to see all of these awesome kits. And even during the breaks, everyone was just like, oh, let me check out that gun, or that kit's so cool, man, can you tell me about it? There was so much historical enjoyment, and the people there are really what made that event. Now, we also had some other cool things that were going on. Number one, like we had the raffle at the end of the day, all historical based prizes, bunch of gear from The.Gear.Locker, and sponsored ones from Broken Arrow Events, as well as a couple from Ground Zero Airsoft. This was a free raffle with your entry, and people won stuff and they all loved it. We also had a really cool structured command system. I was on comms with all the leadership and they were leading their groups of guys. There was the company commander, you had your platoon leaders, just general guys who could lead large groups of people. And while it started out kind of uneven in the beginning of the day, it ended up where the TAN team was holding their own very well. I want to shout out the people who made this possible. First of all, Ground Zero Airsoft, thank you so much for letting me run this event here, and I'm so excited for next year. We got to talk about it. But also just as important, if not more important than the entirety of my job in this, was the cadre who led it. I had 6 cadre who were dedicated, 3 on green, 3 on tan. We're gonna start with the green team, with the top dog being Liam Wachter from Broken Arrow Events. He's a good personal friend of mine, and he stepped in to not only lead the green team, but also guide the rest of them to kind of spread their wings a little bit. He also was a big guide for me. I look up to him in his event running every single time I go to a Bay event. He bounced back and forth ideas with me and on how things were gonna go before, how I was running things during, and feedback after, and for that, I am so grateful. Next to him was Randy Diamond. Randy Diamond's a GZA local and a good friend of mine as well from Bay stuff, and he was awesome. His humor was just, he's the guy you want to laugh with. And then, of course, there was Will Dent. Will rallied all of his 80s guys, and they crushed it on the field. I got compliments from the opposing team on how well they worked together. And to have him as a leader on the field, it was awesome. Good to see. On the flip side of that, I had some good personal friends of mine also leading on the TAN team. Top dog was Mark Herman. Mark Herman dressed as a Pavin, then dressed as a 90s GI, and then dressed as Manuel Noriega. This guy was dedicated to the bit like none other. And honestly, the entire last game was made what it was because of him. The success was because of his leadership and dedication to the vibe of the day. And his right-hand man was Johnny Bullfrog, another fantastic personal friend of the channel. Both of these guys have been on the channel. In fact, almost everyone's been on the channel of my cadre. But this guy was the bodyguard for Noriega. He was the Pakistani UN member during Black Hawk Down and the NVA cell leader during the Tet Offensive. This guy was just there and rocking it just as much as Mark, but helping kind of organize everyone else. Mark had to focus on me, yelling at him through the radio all the time. Not actually yelling, but like I was yapping on the radio a lot. But those two guys just executed it so well. It also couldn't have been done without the help of Stripes Airsoft, one of my great friends through this hobby, especially Alex Stramp. He came 6.5 hours from Maryland just to enjoy the event for the weekend and help me run it. And despite all the gun issues, he was leading the charge almost every time I saw a push from TAN. Just a stand-up guy, and I couldn't have done it without any of those 3 or any of the other guys on green team. If you're watching this, guys, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I also want to extend that same thanks to every single one of you guys who showed up. We had 70 guys show up, and to me, that's more than I could have imagined. But I know that next year we can get it to even more. Tell your friends and buddies because next year we're going 10 times better and 10 times stronger. More PSYOPs, which if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. More hardcore engagements, a lot more push and pull, more raffle prizes. I'm ready for it. This is the Gear.Locker. I want to see you guys at Retro Day 2026. Dates and all that to be announced, but thank you so much for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the event and the pictures. We'll see you guys in the next one and at the next event.